Hello, and welcome back to Navigating National Parks podcast, episode number 2. Now that there's no hurricanes and other pressing matters that have been impacting our lives, we can finally get back to this. We recently did a trip to the Everglades for a impromptu Hurricane Milton-esque trip, because originally we were supposed to go to the Grand Canyon, and we ended up having to go to the Everglades kind of as we need to do something for my birthday. And I should probably introduce who I am. My name is Matt. I'm one of the hosts of Biscayne National Park, and joining me is my lovely fiance who doesn't want to say her name.
Oh, I thought you were doing the intro all on your own.
No.
Morgan.
Don't forget, you gotta speak a little closer.
Oh, okay.
Can't be all the way back here.
I'll scoot in.
But yeah, so we're gonna just go ahead and go over a overview of the trip. We did Everglades National Park, Biscayne National Park, and that we're gonna put some quotes around Biscayne National Park, and we'll get to that later. And we also did Big Cypress National Preserve. I keep calling it natural preserve because it's a preserve of the nature.
Yes, it was a national preserve.
Yep.
So this was a 5-day trip. We came in on a Wednesday and left on a Sunday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Celebrate your birthday.
It was my birthday. We, like I mentioned earlier, we're supposed to go to the Grand Canyon and do that and Petrified Forest National Park, as well as some of the adjoining ones. So Canyon de Chelly
and
Hubble
Trading Post. Probably about 6 others, all in northern Arizona. So we have that entire itinerary ready to go whenever we have a week off in the future. So that'll hopefully be a 2025 trip instead. But I think that the Southern Florida trip turned into a really good alternative that fit with, having to deal with the aftermath of Hurricane Milton, but still get to celebrate and get in some national parks before the end of the year.
Yeah. So Milton kind of screwed us, for lack of better terms.
Yes.
We live in the Central Florida area, which was smack dab in the middle of that. And that messed up a lot of things. We don't know if our flight got canceled to go to Arizona, or I guess it was to go to Atlanta and then go to Arizona. But
yes,
they did tell us hey, we would really prefer if you just took these credits and, booked another flight a different day. And we were like, okay, I guess that's what we're doing.
Yeah, it was a situation where they gave us the option to get the credits, to rebook later in the week, which wouldn't have worked for us, or to hope that the plane left when it was supposed to. And my thought was to go ahead and take the credits and get as many refunds as we could rather than chance it and not get those credits because flights are pricey.
Yeah. And I mean, we also dealt with a little bit of damage here at the house, like water damage, and our fence is now a window to our goats in the backyard.
Yep. So.
And our shed got messed up. And I mean, less significantly impacted than a vast majority of Floridians, but still impacted nonetheless. And we didn't want to go to Arizona, and then we ended up having to not have eyes on getting some of that damage situated versus a quick little trip down south, only 3.5 hours back is nothing. So for us, it was okay, we can still do something without it impacting the birthday trip that we originally planned. And I'm more surprised than I thought I was going to be. I don't know. As a Florida boy, you're just kind of used to swamps and gators and all of that. But the Everglades was so much more than I thought it was going to end up being. So
it was a really great trip.
Yeah, it was really, really cool. And I think we'll get more into that here. But I think we'll start with day 1, October 16th, my birthday. We, as a last minute thing, decided to take the Brightline down, which is the high speed rail
that we have here that goes from Orlando. You leave out of MCO, which is our airport here, and you travel down. We stopped at very briefly at West Palm, Aventura, and
Boca Raton.
Boca Raton, and then of course Miami. So we got off in Miami, and from there we got a rental car to drive down to Homestead, where the Everglades is located. And I mean, for the first time on Brightline, I really enjoyed it. It was so much easier than flying. Not that we would ever really fly down to the Everglades. You could if you wanted to. But overall, it was easy. Security doesn't take that long, so you can roll up pretty close to when your train's going to leave. You take 2 hefty size suitcases with you if you want, like 2 big carry-ons and then a personal bag. And really, honestly, you could probably bring more. It's not like they were really watching what you were taking.
I will say, I think the security in Miami was a little bit more.
It was
on top of checking like who was coming through versus Orlando. Granted, we also took like the 5:30.
We got the earliest train possible to make the most of our day.
Second earliest.
Second earliest. Yeah, we didn't get the absolute earliest because that was a 4 a.m. train.
Yeah.
And I said that might be a little bit too much, but we tend to be very early morning travelers to maximize our days off that we can dedicate to travel. And if you leave at 5 a.m., you get there at around 9 and you have your whole day. So, but yeah, that's probably why the security was a little more quick and easy to get through versus the middle of the day.
Pro tip, download the Brightline app. Don't try to utilize the tickets through your email or anything like that. It's so much more of a pain. So just a pro tip there.
Yes. And the food at the, what is it, Mary? I think it's Mary is their cafe and all of their stations. It's always the same. The food was surprisingly good, and so were the coffees that we had. I was quite pleased as far as airport-esque food, in this case, train station food. I just associate it with the airport since that's where we were. It was very good. Very pricey in the station, though, which is to be expected.
Yeah. What was the bag of M&Ms, like $7 or something?
It's so crazy. I mean, you're stuck there. They know they have you and they can charge you whatever they want.
Yeah.
Like Disney rate.
It was like the shareable size, quote unquote, of M&Ms, but it was still.
It was pricey.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Just a quick little facts. It did not save us any time taking the Brightline comparative to driving.
Surprised me. I assumed it would be faster. However, I think because it goes through more populated areas, it's not always traveling at its max speed. So it takes 3.5 hours to get there via train and 3.5 if you're driving. But the perk is you don't have to drive.
For us.
For coming from Orlando, where we're located.
Yeah. Like we have decently, I wouldn't say close proximity to the turnpike, but it's not a huge deal to get to the turnpike for us versus someone that maybe lived like, I don't know, the other side of I-4, maybe like they were in Sanford or something, closer to like the Sanford airport. I think it could take longer, I think, for us because of where we're located. It's just a little bit easier, and that's why. So just something that I think we should keep in mind.
Yeah, that's true. But I do think it's a good option for people coming out of state if you're doing a longer trip and you want to enjoy Southern Florida as well as Central Florida. It is a quick, convenient way to not have to drive between the two locations. You can come do your Central Florida stuff. If you're like a theme park person, you want to do the touristy thing in that regard. And then you can quickly get down to where all of the national parks that we have in the state are located.
Yes, because even Dry Tortugas is down in Key West,
Mhm.
which we did not do this time
But
because we've already done it.
Yeah, we've already been. And we'll cover that more later.
Yeah.
Because that tends to be a cluster, the 4 major parks down there. The people like to try to combine all of them.
Yes.
All right.
I will say, so like Morgan mentioned, we got a rental car through
Mhm.
Avis. And we also parked our vehicle at MCO's Garage C, which is Terminal C.
Mhm.
Or Terminal C. And there's like nobody there. And so like, and they have like, I don't even know, probably at least 20 something level 2 chargers. Like there's a bunch like throughout that parking terminal, and it's free charging. Not that you really want to charge your car when you're not there.
Yeah, but you can plug it in and have it set to.
Yeah, you can like set it to 50, and if you want it to like, wow, how did I know that was going to happen?
A guest appearance by our angry cats.
But if you're going to take the Bright Line and you're going to drive your car there, park at Wally Park. It's significantly cheaper than Terminal C. Or if you really want to park at Terminal C so you can get the advantage of the EV charging, make sure you reserve ahead of time, because if you don't, you have to pay the normal parking fees for airport parking. So for essentially, 5 days, I paid $120.
It was pretty. Yeah, it was.
It was like the cherry on top after we were like, man, we spent a lot of money on this vacation. And then like after we feel like we're already home and like done spending money, it's like, oh, by the way, you also have to pay to get out of this parking garage.
Yep.
And also they make it the most inconvenient way possible. They're like actual people there. So you have to like sign for like a credit card payment.
It feels very old school.
I was like, what am I, like the 1990s right now?
It feels like, yeah.
Anyways, all right, so back to the actual trip and not me complaining about MCO for the 900th time.
Complain about MCO all day long.
We'll go into renting a car through Avis.
Yes, it's not in the Brightline station. You do have to walk about a block down to get to the Avis office, and they do have limited hours, so it's not a 24/7 drop off. So you will, if you're planning to rent from Avis, you do have to keep in mind some parameters around when you'll be able to drop the car off and leave, which I did not know. So I'm glad it just happened to work out for us.
Yes. Also didn't know that, considering I'm the one that rented the car and had to make all these decisions. Also, they make it like impossible to find. If you're going to look for the Avis, don't. You're better off looking for the Einstein bagel. Is that right?
Yeah, so it was an Einstein bagel.
Like the Einstein Bros bagels or whatever.
Yeah.
And look for that. And then it's like right next to it, like hidden in a stairway. Like
they don't want to be found.
I swear that's what it felt like.
Like, do you want to actually rent me a car? I'm not sure.
But as part of the birthday trip, we, in tune with EVing around, we rented I want to say it was like 2023, maybe 2024 Mustang Mach-E.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anything about what the actual specs were. But it was all-wheel drive. So, I mean, I feel like that's at least something.
It was a nice car. I felt like it rode very comfortably.
Yes, it was very nice. There was the most bings and bongs of any car I've ever been in.
It notified you of everything.
Yes.
I felt like it was talking to us the whole way.
Oh my, I wish it wouldn't, because whoever had that car previously, or maybe this is just a Mustang Mach-E problem, absolutely just decided to blow out the voice assistant speaker. Like it was like going through a McDonald's drive-through in like the early 2000s.
Yes, it was about impossible to understand.
It's like, all right, what are you saying to me right now? And it's just the voice assistant. Music was fine, no issues. But for whatever reason, it was just like, yeah, we want to make sure you have the most unpleasant experience possible. And I don't know, maybe there was a setting.
And that's how it is with rental cars. You never know how to fix anything if there's something not working. I did like the really big screen on it, though.
Yeah, I was really surprised with the vertical screen. I thought I would hate every second of it, and I actually thoroughly enjoyed it.
It felt very fancy.
It did.
It was easy to navigate.
Yep.
Nice having a huge map for GPSing purposes. So we drove that through Miami out to Homestead and went directly to the Ernest F. Coe Visitor Center.
Yep. Yeah, so where we stayed, there's a quaint little farm place, not even 10 minutes up the road from the Ernest F. Coe Visitor Center. So
I think we went and we did that tour first, right?
yeah, we did so we went to the visitor center. We just kind of looked around.
Mm-hmm.
We checked out the charging infrastructure there, which, that was a big deal because they have a level 2 charger through Blink. That's $2 an hour. I think it's like 6.4, 6.8 kilowatts an hour. And they also have a DC fast charger, which is not a DC fast charger. And by that, I mean, you get DC fast charging at like 19 to 20 kilowatts an hour. It's very slow, but it works and it's good in a pinch. So like if you pull in dead, like it's gonna be very convenient to like plug in there because
yeah, I mean it's a good.
If you're not looking for fast speeds, you're gonna be good to go. So we spent the first little bit there until our tour started at 2.
So we did the Royal Palm, Nike Missile Site, and Peheoki tour through Everglades Institute Tours. They're one of the concessioners that's licensed through the Everglades National Park to do tours in the park. And that was it was like a 3 or 4 hour tour.
It was approaching 4 hours. I think it was supposed to be 2 to 5:15, but I think by the time we got back, it was like 5:45. Not by the tour guides doing, but because it was almost like a private tour. Like we lucked
out in that it was a private tour. I mean, it was us and nobody else showed up and was scheduled. Maybe as a side effect of the hurricane having come through. There wasn't really anything, like the park wasn't closed. We had checked ahead of time to make sure that things down there were in order. They weren't hit the way that Central Florida was hit. So they were all good to go. All the parks were open. But it's also, we went mid-October, which is wet season still. So it's off season for the Everglades. So we just lucked out. I mean, that's always a consideration when you pick when you want to go to these parks. Going in the off season has downfalls, and that not all the ranger-led stuff is happening. People go during the busy season because, there's more nature or the views are better and what have you. But it is nice to be in a private tour and go when it's quiet and there's not a ton of people. So that was definitely a highlight.
One note there is normally you will see Peheoki.
I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce it.
We've learned how to say it. We said it the entire time, and I haven't said it in 2 weeks, and I forget. Peheoki was closed for flooding.
Yes, so
there was a lot of rainfall.
We did not get to see Peheoki at all during this tour. The tour guide definitely made up for it, though, thankfully. But that would be something you'd normally see, and that is a spot that if you're going to the Everglades, it's up there in the must-do type of category.
Yes. Yep. Saw some cool things. We won't get too much into it because we'll save that for the individual Everglades National Park overview of what we did. But we will talk about how much this cost.
So this tour was $93 a person. So we paid $186.
Yeah. And they do provide you with water and an AC van.
Yes.
For the, 3.5 hours you're out there.
Yeah. So, and it was a very thorough tour. It's led by a naturalist who knows a ton about all the nature, knows where to go to see specific creatures and birds and what have you. And you also get access to go see the Nike missile site, which you cannot go to if you're not part of the tour. There is times of the year, I believe, where they do open it to the public. That's not on a guided tour. However, at least during the season we went, you don't see it unless you're on the tour.
Yeah. Which is a must see. I didn't know there was missiles at the Everglades.
No.
Before.
A ton of history there on how all of that went down.
Yes. Bay of Pigs, Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yes.
Very interesting. Some Googling
and
for those.
Do have missiles there that you can see. And you get to go into the hangars, I guess they would be.
Yeah, because this was before silos.
Yes.
This was, I think, the last missile site before silos became a thing. Anyways, we'll save that.
Yeah.
So that was day one. Then we went grocery shopping.
Yeah.
You know,
we did the Airbnb. A lot of times we'll rent an Airbnb so that we can save on eating out. And like when we're thinking about how we're doing our trips, if we can cut eating out some, then we'll do an Airbnb versus hotels. So we went to Publix and got food for the week. But we did go out to Bangkok cuisine, I think it was. Very tasty, very popular, super crowded when we went. So we got takeout and it was quite tasty. It's a celebratory birthday dinner, but there are some other cool restaurants down there. If you are staying in the area, there's a very nice winery, and there is a what is that meat place called?
Meat place?
The meat.
Brazilian steakhouse?
Yes, a Brazilian steakhouse. There's both of those if you're looking for something fancy, celebratory that you want to go do while you're down in the Everglades.
There's another reason we do Airbnbs is because we actually don't always just travel, me and Morgan.
Yes.
We're with her mom. So we all tend to have that extra room. Usually when me and Morgan travel on our own, if we're traveling by ourselves, we'll do hotels because we're never really sitting still. Yes.
So we tend to go more when it's just us. We'll tend to eat out more and not do as much cooking at the Airbnb. And obviously we don't care about it's just us two. So we don't need multiple bathrooms. But if we're traveling with friends, family, like if my mom is coming with us because she does a lot of the national park traveling as well, we always do Airbnbs or Vrbo.
Yes. And then if it's me and Morgan, do hotels.com and find something that provides breakfast for us. So
exactly. Yes. We love a free breakfast.
Yes.
Good old continental breakfast.
And that was kind of day one.
Yep.
That was a fun time. Day two was our free day, right?
Yeah. It was kind of a situation where we were going to go to Deering Estate. And that was kind of the original plan. And then we kind of decided not to do Deering Estate because we went to Flamingo. Tried to go to Flamingo the first night. So there's multiple visitor centers in Everglades and they offer something different. So you really don't want to just go to one. You want to go to all of them and do the full drive. So you have Royal Palm, you have Ernest F. Co., you have Flamingo, and then you have Gulf Coast. Gulf Coast currently is kind of just not functional.
It's just a kayak launch place. Yeah. I don't even think it's a kayak launch place at the moment because of Hurricane Milton, but that might have changed by now. You're also forgetting Shark Valley.
Oh, Shark Valley, there's 5.
Yes, there's 5.
Shark Valley is important too.
But what Morgan is trying to say is Ernest F. Co., Royal Palm, and Flamingo are all on the same road.
Yes.
Versus Gulf Coast and Shark Valley are separate from the rest of those two areas. So you'll want to head down the main road, which I can't remember what the main road is called.
It's just
but essentially you just follow one long road through the Everglades to hit Flamingo.
Some of the other key pull-off points along the way.
Yeah, because there's like 9 Mile Pond. What's the name of this? Ingram Highway. That's the name.
So you're just going to travel that all the way down. For us, Flamingo's visitor center was closed, and we're big on getting our stamps because we do the national parks park system passport.
Yes.
And
the whole point of being around.
Yes. So it is important that we get our stamps for all of the locations we go to. And also the Flamingo Visitor Center was more recently redone, and it is very nice on the inside. It has some nice exhibits. So it's definitely worth going inside. Of course, you can see plenty outside nature wise, which is the main highlight. But I do recommend going when Flamingo's Visitor Center is open.
Yes. They are not open Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
Yes.
Wednesdays and Thursdays. Wednesdays and Thursdays until I think November. Because November is actually their busy season when it gets dry out.
Yes. So the Everglades has a wet season, which is April and Mayish to October, November. And then the dry season is November to April, roughly.
Yeah.
Roughly. And the dry season people like to go because it dries up, hence dry season, and more of the animals are out. So you can see more of the wildlife because they have less areas to go since they're all pretty much water dwelling and they hide in the water.
Yes. Pro tip though, check the NPS website for Guy Bradley's hours. Do not check the app, because the app will say that Guy Bradley Visitor Center in Flamingo is open year round every day, and it is not.
No.
And so that was why we had some confusion, because we only checked the app initially. Our mistake.
Yep. So that's where we went on the 17th.
Which, before we go too much further, the marina down at Flamingo has 2 level 2 chargers.
Yes.
As well. Through Blink, $2 an hour. To activate them, you have to go to the Ernest F. Coe Visitor Center in the Blink app. And they're in there. You'll see there's like 5, but somehow the Ernest F. Coe only has 1 charger. Well, that's because the Ernest F. Coe Visitor Center has every single Everglades charger, level 2 charger in the app itself, or in that one location. So to activate both Flamingos as well as Shark Valleys, and Shark Valley is like 40 miles away or something like that, you have to go to the Ernest F. Coe one.
Yeah.
So we were able to charge there. So this is the first day. And then we were like, oh, okay, well, I guess we just turn around. We didn't go to like I said, 9 Mile Pond. We stopped at like the Mahogany Hammock, or what was the name of that place? Mahogany something.
It wasn't mahogany. Mahogany hammock. No, it was, I believe, because the mahogany trees are there. We did that trail. It's maybe like a half a mile trail.
Yeah, it's like nothing.
Pretty nice shaded walk through nature. We did 9 Mile Pond on that day, right?
Yeah.
And saw a crocodile.
Oh, we did. Yes.
Yes, a very big crocodile all the way out of the water. I thought he was a statue when we pulled up. I was like, oh, how convenient. They gave us a statue to pose with. How Instagrammable. And then he moved. So
yep.
It was very impressive.
He was like somewhere between 9 and 11 feet long. He's pretty long.
Yeah. So if you want to see crocodiles, stop at 9 Mile Pond. It's a very small little area. I think it's normally a kayak launch type of location.
Yes.
But they will come out and not beach themselves, but they come out of the water to warm up.
Yeah.
So you're going to see them most often earlier in the day or later in the day, because midday it's warm enough that they can stay in the water and be fine.
Yes. And I feel like we pull it. There's also the west, I think it's like West Lake over there that we pulled through. That's another like little picnic area. And we passed all of the little like kayak canoe launches, like what was it? Hell's Basin? Hell's Bay.
Yes.
Hell's Bay and Snake Bite. but spelled Bight
Yes.
and not Bite.
So there's plenty of trails and other things that you can pull off and do. Some of what we passed was underwater or very buggy.
Quite a bit of it was underwater when we've gone.
So it was very much the wet season. They had a lot of rain.
Hurricane.
Yeah, the hurricane brought in a lot of rain. So
yeah. So, and then we did Dante Pascal this day as well.
Oh, we did. That's right. So we decided to go ahead.
No, we didn't. No, we didn't.
We got our story straight. We don't even know where we went.
What did we do?
That was it. We did Flamingo and we went back.
That's true. We were so tired that I don't think we got back until, I think it was already like 3:00 by that point.
Yeah. And I'd say sometimes we have trips where we go from sunup to sundown and we continue to go. The Everglades, unless you're doing a dark skies type tour at night, you're not going to stay out late.
Yeah.
So your day will end what might be considered somewhat earlier. We did go ahead and pick up the junior ranger stuff, which you can complete as an adult.
This was the next day though. Right?
Yes. Because it was closed.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
No, it was open.
No, because we got it at Guy Bradley, but we did it the second day. So we really just went down to Flamingo, went, oh my gosh, this is closed, and then turned around and then went to Publix and got some stuff.
No, the second day was open because it was the first day we went that it was closed.
I'm talking about the second day of the trip.
Yeah.
Yeah. We didn't go the first day of the trip. We went the second day of the trip. 17th.
We went to Flamingo.
Yes.
And we got our junior ranger books.
No, we went that the third day. So the third day, the 18th, when we were supposed to go to Biscayne and do Biscayne National Park on a boat tour. And we ended up not. So we ended up doing Flamingo again. That's when we saw the manatees.
Oh, you're right. We don't even know what we're talking about.
I know what I'm talking about.
We do know what you're talking about. I have the itinerary in front of me, but it's not updated. We were supposed to do the Boca Chica tour on October 18th. That got canceled. So the thing with Biscayne is it is 95% water. If it's one of those national parks that you need to get out in the water, on the water to experience it to its full majestic extent. If you can do stuff on shore, but you're not experiencing the reason why Biscayne was elected to be a national park. We were going to do the Boca Chica tour. They take you out to the Boca Chica Lighthouse. It's a guided tour. You're on the water. You see Stiltsville, and we had a snorkeling portion added to it, like a beginner level snorkeling. That got canceled because of high wind. So if you're doing Biscayne, you are really playing with Mother Nature, because if she decides the winds are too high, all of your Biscayne experiences pretty much disappear.
Yes.
And that's something that is not super easy to plan for because sometimes it's windy.
Yeah. We'll circle back to a little bit more about Biscayne on this third day.
Yes.
But it was warranted. Let's just say we saw the water.
No, I mean,
it was
we weren't
warranted.
canceling it just to cancel it. I agree with their decision to cancel it. The water was extremely choppy and it wouldn't be safe or pleasant to be out on the water.
Yes.
But it is just something to keep in mind. So our tour was canceled. Yeah. I woke up to that email and we went, oh no, what do we do? Because that was our plan for the day, was to be there. So we decided to go ahead and go anyway after we did Flamingo.
Yeah. So we initially were like, well, we need to get our stamp from Flamingo. It's the southernmost continental visitor center.
It's a special visitor center.
It's a special visitor center.
Pass it up.
You see off the southern point of Florida. I mean, obviously you have the Keys, but those aren't considered part of the continental US, which is weird because I guess they're islands.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Weird nuances there, but the Guy Bradley is the southernmost visitor center. So we had to get that stamp. So we were trying to figure out how to fit that in initially when we had the Biscayne tour. Mm-hmm. And we were like, I don't know.
So,
And so with this, we were just like, all right, we're going back to Biscayne. So
yeah. So we went back to Flamingo.
yes. Saw the most amount of manatees I've ever seen in my life.
Ever. Just like an entire, I don't know if they're considered a pod. Dolphins travel in pods. So it was a pod of manatees.
Well, they're called sea cows, right? So maybe it's a herd.
That would make sense.
Pod or a herd.
Of manatees that were so close. They were all up in the marina, just hanging out, and like mamas and babies. And had to be like between 20 and 30 just hanging out. They would come up for air, kind of bob around.
And there's also these little whitefish that kept jumping up.
Yeah, at first I was like, is that a dolphin? I'm not sure, but it was definitely, they were fish that were popping up.
At one point there was a crocodile that went by.
Yes, there's crocodiles that pop up in the marina because we saw one the day before as well that had come up a little ways. And
Mo's decided to claw out the window.
All of the cats decide to act up.
I got a whole hour before they get fed. Yeah.
So that was a really cool nature experience. And it's funny because as we drove out there, my mom was like, oh, I just hope I get to see a manatee on this trip in the wild. And sure enough, it delivered because the day before we said, I just want to see a crocodile and a live crocodile in the wild because we don't have crocodiles in Central Florida the way they do down in Southern Florida in the Everglades area. So this trip really delivered for us.
A lot of nature for sure. We also, so we got to do the visitor center, which that visitor center is very well put together.
It's very nice. It's new. They've opened it more recently and it has a lot of exhibits. You can look out and see out into the bay. I guess that would be a bay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's Florida Bay, right?
Yeah. Florida Bay stretches off the end of the peninsula.
Yeah.
So you can see the bay. It's just very pretty. You can see all the birds out there flying around. They have telescopes.
Yes.
Binoculars. So you can see off and look at the birds up close from inside. And
that's where we got the junior ranger.
That's when we got the junior ranger. See, we are already I'm forgetting things. This is why I need my notebook. I have my notes so that I remember. We got our junior ranger book at that point. And I will say our experience so far we've done the senior ranger program once, but I think this is our first time doing a junior ranger. We saw another adult getting it. And I've always heard from other, people that they're really chill about adults doing it. So we're like, hey, what the heck? Let's participate. I think you get a lot more from the parks when you do these programs. It's just something fun, but it also engages you and makes you think about what's happening. Obviously, some of them are very much geared towards children. So it is a good activity if you have kids. Do the junior ranger program. They'll remember it. I did the junior ranger program as a kid in the Smoky Mountains, and it's something I look back on fondly. So I really am a fan of the junior ranger programs that they have. In this case, they have a very well thought out, extensive program that spans Biscayne, Everglades, and Big Cypress. So you'll see a lot of cross promotion between the parks. They're pretty well connected. They have programs that intertwine with each other.
Yes. If you do, they do encourage you to do the entire book as an adult, which ranges anywhere from drawing a make-believe animal, which we did a manatee with a turtle shell.
To protect them.
Protect themselves from propellers.
Exactly.
To coloring books, to word crosses, to haiku. Well, I guess just a poem.
Yeah.
We just decided on a haiku because we knew we could accomplish it. Which we'll save our poem for the Everglades.
The highlight.
Yeah. The
spotlight.
The spotlight podcast.
Yeah.
And if you do all three, you get your junior ranger badge for each place, which at the time we did it, Big Cypress had their 50th anniversary.
So we got a special.
So we got a special Junior Ranger badge. And we also got it from the Everglades as well as Biscayne.
We get one at each.
But if you do the entire book, you get a badge.
Yeah, a fabric patch that you can sew on to wherever. It's like a little teardrop, or it's a water drop.
Yes.
To represent a lot of the book talks about the water cycle there, and like, or not the, well, yeah, I guess how the water works through the parts of Florida and how important it is and all of that. So you get a little water droplet. Really cute badge.
Yep.
Now we're going to put that on our park bag.
Yes. Whatever park bag we decide to make here.
Got a little spot for it. I just got to sew. I got to get a sewing kit.
That's right. Just gonna end up stapling it. But yeah, so it was really cool. It, like Morgan said, like it very much teaches you a lot.
And it's okay to be a kid sometimes and act like a kid. There's plenty of adults that were participating in it.
Yes. Can't stress that enough. Don't feel shy about trying out those types of things. Like makes me wish some of these I almost want to go back and do the Junior Ranger program at some of the places we visited. Yeah,
to get more of the full experience, because it does. As adults, sometimes we gloss through things. You know, as kids, there's always programs in place for you that are designed to help you remember and use the knowledge that you're accumulating, picking up on while you're at these places. Yeah. And I know the Senior Ranger program is only at 3 in the entire United States. Yeah. So it's Timaquan here in Florida, which is why we were able to do it. And I think you said one in Utah, one of the ones in Utah. I don't know if it's the one in Utah. I want to say Yellowstone has one. It's one of the bigger national parks and then another smaller park. Yeah. Like it's not a lot. So they haven't expanded the program very far, which is a shame, but it's also why they're very open to people doing the Junior Ranger program. And they'll expand it if we keep asking for it. The Rangers we talked to didn't even know that there was a senior program. Yes. So if you go and you ask for it, then the parks will eventually expand their programs. So and that's the goal. Yeah, exactly. Well, we kind of jumped around there with the whole Junior Ranger program for day 3, but after our second visit to Flamingo, where we got even more souvenirs there. Yes, we're big souvenir people. We collect a lot from our national park travels. Yes. Not just national parks, our NPS travels in general. Yes. Any travels, really, let's be honest, we're souvenir people. We are. It's kind of our thing. Yeah. Got a whole fridge full of magnets of places we've been. We got magnets, we got coins, we have shot glasses. We're expanding into postcards now. Postcards, because we're going to hang them. They're going to be very cute. Yes. A gallery wall. That's right. We then went to quote unquote Biscayne National Park, which is only like 19 to 20-ish miles away from the Ernest F. Coe Visitor Center. So it took us about 30 minutes to get there from our Airbnb. So it's really not too bad of a drive. And our Airbnb is, again, it was like 10 minutes from the entrance to Everglades. Yes. So that shows you how close they are. And you can very much do a trip that covers Everglades and Biscayne. Yes. In one go. So we went to Dante Fascal. Yes. Fascal. I don't know how to say it. It's Fascal. Well, we don't know. It's fine. We're ignorant. So we're not gurus. We just enjoy this stuff. We went to the Dante Visitor Center. And that's where we understood why they canceled the tour for the day, because boy, it was windy. Yeah. They have a jetty out there, so you can kind of like walk into the water, so you can kind of say you've been to Biscayne National Park. And it was very, very choppy that day. My hair was whipping all over the place. Yes. But you can walk out of pretty decent ways out into the water along the path that they have on less busy, on less windy days, there's a little more wildlife from what we saw. There were more fish when we went back later in the trip. And
we'll get there.
Yeah.
Does that ruin it? But yeah, I think it's called Convoy Point or something like that. Yeah, Convoy Point Jetty Walk. That's the name of it. That's what I was doing over here on my phone, not being rude. So they also have charging there. That doesn't work.
It's a theme.
Is it? This was the only one that didn't work.
I thought we had issues at one of the other spots.
Oasis didn't say it was working, but it was.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah. Anyway, Oasis was also free, so I don't care.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, Biscayne's just don't work. So that was a pain. Also, they're like in the way back of the visitor center. Yeah. Every other visitor center, besides like Shark Valley also had it kind of towards the back, but still in a very clearly marked area. Biscayne was like in the little corner over there to the side, like
walk forever.
It didn't even work. So it's like, what the heck? But yeah, no. Visitor center.
Very nice.
Very nice. A little small.
I'd say it's small for a national park for sure.
Yeah. Especially because it's the only visitor center.
Yeah. Yeah.
I assumed that there would at least be
a little bit more.
Yeah. So like Morgan mentioned, 95% of it's underwater. So obviously there's not going to be much. The Biscayne tours, Biscayne Institution, I can't remember. They're all associated with the Florida National Parks Association.
Yeah. Biscayne Institute tours.
Yeah. They have, I think, 3 different launch points. So you can leave from the Dante Pascal Visitor Center, which is right there in Homestead. Or if you're like going to do us, like what we're going to do with the Boca Cheetah tour, it's all the way up in Coconut Grove.
Which is a ways.
Which is back up in downtown Miami.
So when you're picking your tour, you need to really pay a close attention to where the launch point is from, because if you go to Dante Fasel and then you need to be up in Coconut Grove,
that's an hour.
That's an hour, and you need to be there ahead of your launch time for check-in. And
these cats are trying to destroy our home.
They are.
There's a mutiny right now.
They know that we're busy.
But yeah, so just one little note, if you're doing Biscayne, quote unquote. But so that's what I was trying to get at is I wonder, like, I feel like there should be another visitor center up there near Coconut Grove if you're going to consistently launch places from there.
You would think, right?
And also Key Biscayne is up near that, but Key Biscayne is not part of Biscayne National Park. There's a lot of nuances.
Yeah, you have to pay close attention to where you have to be for different events. And Deering Estate is also further up there on Key Biscayne, isn't it?
It's in between. So I think Deering Estate is in Coral Gables.
Okay.
If I remember correctly, don't quote me on that. Miami's got like 3 towns in a 10-mile radius, like just going up like Highway 1. So I won't pretend to know exactly what's going on there, but imagine you do Biscayne, right? You do that tour, like, and you're coming from Coconut Grove, and then you have to travel like an hour just to go get the stamp. Like, I feel like it's a little frustrating.
Yeah.
Especially for like a concession base, like a confirmed partner of the National Park Service.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little, especially like just as a little tidbit, but a lot of like concessionaires of the National Park System have stamps that on hand, so you can still get your National Park stamp. But there was no like indication otherwise that they did. Because I know like the swamp tours, like airboat tours, have them on hand.
The airboat tours each have their own, according to parkstamps.org or parkstamps.com or whatever it is. So go ahead. No, I was just going to say that they do have stamps if that's something that you enjoy collecting as part of your travels.
Yeah. Well, anyways, that was the second day. We did the visitor center. We did the little jetty walk, and That's pretty much it. This won't be the last time we visit.
No, we are planning a visit back while we got our stamp, and we've now been to Biscayne. We don't feel like we fully experienced Biscayne. So we're planning a long weekend to go back and do the Boca Chica tour. You want to see Stiltsville, you want to do the Boca Chica Lighthouse, and then you really want to do the Heritage Trail, which is a snorkeling trail.
Yes.
To me, those are the 3 highlights, as well as trying to do Deering Estate. So those are the 4 things you really want to do when you're in Biscayne to really do all of Biscayne. Now there's other stuff. There's additional tours that you can go on, but those 4 experiences to me round out saying I've been to Biscayne and I've experienced all of it.
Yes. So
we will be back.
Yeah.
Definitely did not. But the thing is, I think Boca Chica wouldn't have given us the full experience of Biscayne anyway. And we would have wanted to go back.
Side note, Boca Chica Lighthouse was actually closed anyway.
It was.
So we would have basically never, even if we had done the boat tour, I don't feel like we would have experienced it.
No, and I don't know when Boca Chica opens. I know we talked about going in December.
Closed like all year.
Yeah. So, and there's other lighthouses as well. There's 3 lighthouses that you can see in Biscayne. So,
yes,
you just want to pay attention to the different tour options, and definitely they do scuba diving there if that's your thing. I'm not scuba certified, and I don't know if I would go scuba diving.
3 of the 7 stops on the Maritime Heritage Trail for Biscayne are scuba only.
Mm-hmm.
So I think 1 of the shipwrecks and 2 of the reefs are scuba only. So if you are scuba certified or at least have some type of experience scuba diving, by all means do it. But the other 4 are snorkeling.
Mm-hmm. So we're more snorkeling people than scuba diving people, but you can get both there.
Yes.
Enjoy both. So that runs out our Biscayne.
Yeah, that was day 3.
4. Or no.
That was day 3.
That was day 3.
Yeah.
Yes, because day 4 was October 19th.
Yes.
And that is when we started with Shark Valley.
Yeah. So Shark Valley is on the Tamiami Trail, which is actually significantly further away than you probably might have expected from like the Ernest F. Co. So for us, I think it was just about an hour drive.
Mm-hmm.
You go up Chrome Avenue and then you get onto Tamiami. It's pretty much a straight shot. There's just those 2 roads. And then there, again, another good little visitor center. But the real reason why you want to go to Shark Valley is to do either the tram tour or the bike tour.
Yes. And we decided to do the tram tour. To me, I'm a big tour person with a guided person, some sort of expert that's leading me through who knows how to point things out, because otherwise they just kind of unleash you with a bike and that's it.
Yes.
So we had a driver, and I don't know if she was technically a naturalist, but we had a guide, and they were both looking for wildlife and pointing it out and could give us all sorts of facts and information. And the tram tour takes you all the way out to
the observation tower.
Which you then have time to hike up to the top and see the Everglades all around you, see for a long way. That's definitely something that you want to do when you're at Shark Valley, even if you're doing the biking. And let me tell you, it is a long bike ride. So prepare yourself. I saw some people who started walking it. I didn't know they allowed people to walk it and not bike it, but I would do the tram.
Yeah.
That is my vote. You learn so much more when you have somebody who knows what they're doing. So I will always recommend having a guide over going it on your own.
Other big reason you might want to do a tram tour. If you're not used to gators, you might want to stick on the tram, because if not, they are just on the side of the road. You are very much in close proximity to both crocodiles and gator. They were both right there on the
They
road.
do have crocodiles now in Shark Valley that have migrated their way over there, been relocated, and came back. So I think they have 4 resident crocodiles right
I
now.
think that's what Kelly was saying.
Yeah. And we got to see one of them on this tour.
Yes, the original one.
The original one. She was out there. She was much smaller than the one we saw at 9 Mile Pond.
Yeah.
But she was still very impressive. The females are smaller.
Yes.
Than the males when it comes to crocodiles. So we're pretty sure we saw a male the first day that we saw one. And then obviously she was a lady because the guide knew which one it was. And so that was exciting. But yeah, this is not a zoo. This is their home and they are just out living life.
Yes.
On the trail.
And you never know who's got babies and who doesn't. Like we saw a mom and baby.
Yes.
On the tram tour. And then we saw a mom and baby human making some really dumb decisions.
Yes. Tourists are...
They are an attraction in themselves.
Yes. Natural selection has really not taken out some people I would expect it to take out. So...
Pro tip. Don't turn your back to the gator that has its mouth open and hissing at you with your child right next to you.
Yes.
It's not a great idea. Don't recommend it.
Yes. And yeah, just don't bother the alligators. They're just trying to live their life and we're in their home. So we should be respecting them and also understand that while alligators tend to be more shy and they don't want to attack people, they're not hunting us. You know, a mama is going to protect her babies.
Yes. A mama alligator has a much higher chance of winning even against larger male crocodiles.
Yeah.
Or not crocodiles, alligators.
Yeah. So they're going to, if you get into a fight with one, you're going to lose. So don't get into any fights. Even
unless you're a certified Florida man, in which case, don't try your luck. But
yeah, so that was a very good tour. And it was, that one was $33 per person. So we paid $66 for me and you. And I think it's an affordable tour, honestly.
Yeah, you're out there for quite a while. So we did the 9 a.m. one, right? And we were there until almost 12.
Yeah. So they drive you all the way around the loop and they give you time to walk up to the observation tower. And I mean, to me, that's a worthwhile tour.
Yeah. My recommendation is have your camera ready on most of that tour because they're going to make frequent stops to point out alligators, point out herons, point out we saw a kite, one of the kites, which is a bird, not an actual kite. Crocodiles and hingas. Yes. So I would say keep your camera ready during most of that tram tour. Also, another reason maybe you want to take the tram instead of the bike tour, a good portion of that was flooded.
Yeah.
So you actually, if you're taking a bike, you can't do the full loop. You're only able to do the second half.
Yes. During the time where we went, I don't know if all of wet season is like this. They were experiencing more flooding in general. So you would only get the full experience if you were on the tram. So in my opinion, err on the side of caution, get the most bang for your buck, and go with the tram tour.
What's a little snake? Not a python, but we did see a snake.
Yeah.
I just want to point that out. That's all.
We did see a snake on the way up to the observation tower, but apparently, I mean, if you know about the Everglades, you know about the pythons. They have an exhibit where they talk about the biggest one that's been found, which is 18 feet? 19 feet. They're looking for the 20-footer. There are big snakes out there, but you probably will not see them because apparently they hide.
Yes. So.
But there are tiny snakes.
Yes.
And be careful where you step.
Yeah, definitely. That is probably just a general good piece of information for any national park.
Yeah.
Be careful where you step.
Be careful where you're going and pay attention to the wildlife.
All right. And then after that, we took a a left to go west further down Tamiami Trail, and we just did the Big Cypress Loop Trail Road, which is a dirt road extravaganza. If you don't have all-wheel drive, I probably wouldn't recommend it. There's a lot of potholes. If you hit one the wrong way, you very easily could get stuck. I can't stress that enough.
The biggest potholes.
Kelly, the naturalist tour guide for the tram, mentioned how she did in her Honda Civic. If you want to go for it, by all means.
It wouldn't be the most comfortable. Right?
By any means.
Yeah.
It's very rickety. And that's with a pretty decent suspension in that Mach-E.
Yeah.
I can't imagine if we did that in our Nero, we would have felt every single bump. But I mean,
it was a pretty drive.
Yeah, it's very, I would say, worthwhile if you're not a Floridian.
Yes. I agree with that.
I think as Floridians, we were very much less impressed with this
at first because we don't have cypresses that big here. Yeah. But overall, it's a very Floridian landscape, even from people who are raised in Central Florida. And,
yeah. There is a little bit of things it looks like for youths. Like there was that weird, not weird, it was just kind of off the beaten path youth camp. Remember? That was like weirdly gated.
It's to the public, so I'm not sure what some of that is.
So,
but there's places you can pull off and look. However, I recommend it for people not from Florida. I don't know if everybody from Florida should necessarily spend time because you are going a lot slower on that road. It takes a while to get there.
Yeah. Big thing for us. And I mean, this is something that is a big appeal for going on this road that we didn't get to see, unfortunately, is the Florida Panther is typically on this road.
Yes.
But because of Hurricane Milton and how much flooding there was throughout most of that trail, so each side was pretty much water, up until some of the slightly more elevated areas. Very, very not a lot of wildlife when we went. And there was not a lot of cars up until that very last like 5 miles. And it's, I think, like a 20-something mile trail. So those 20-something miles, only like 15 of that was like barren with like those great white herons or the egrets.
Yeah, those were herons.
Herons. Okay. That was it, right? Like it was just cypress trees in that. And we were going decently slow. Like it's not like we were trying to fly through this.
No, yeah. It was pretty. It was a very Floridian experience.
Yes.
As a Floridian, I was like, yes, this is Florida. This is home.
I was like, wow, this is just like taking some of the back roads.
But the cypress trees are pretty and they are impressive.
I think during the drier season, it would be nicer to see some of the more wildlife that could be coming out during that time.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But during the wet season, it was all right.
It was all right. It wasn't a highlight. And it's something that if you're pressed for time, you could maybe cut out and be okay.
Yes. So after we were done with that, we went to the Nathaniel Co. No, not Co. Nathaniel.
It was Swamp.
It was, yeah, it was the Swamp. It's Nathaniel something. Nathaniel Poe, Nathaniel Lee, Nathaniel. I'm hoping this sparks something in you so you remember, because I don't remember.
I don't remember. It's Nathaniel something.
Yeah.
It was the Swamp Visitor Center.
Yeah.
So this is the first visitor center we went to. There's a lot of
Nathaniel P. Reed,
aka Swamp Visitor Center. This is a Big Cypress National Preserve Visitor Center. There's 2, that and Oasis. This one had a lot of, I wouldn't say fully exhibits, but plenty of plaques and stuff to read and learn more about Big Cypress. You could go out to the boardwalk along the back and see animals, wildlife out there. We didn't see any when we were there.
Yeah. Again, very flooded. When there is more flooding, animals spread out more.
Because they have more water to hang out in.
the biggest thing I think there was like you can see some gators or you can see some birds and trees. We didn't really see
either
either
at that specific location.
I will say the cool thing about this place is actually I won't get into it. I'll save it for the individual spotlight on Big Cypress. I was talking about the building materials, but we'll get into that.
So yeah, from there we went to Oasis.
Yes, Oasis Visitor Center.
Apparently they do alligator wrestling.
Which again, if you're a non-Floridian, you might want to do that. We are Floridians. We have witnessed our fair share of alligator wrestling. The alligator wrestling there, the biggest difference is it's done by
American tribes.
Yes,
they're based out of there. So it's
I don't know if it was the
cultural based
Muskogee.
I think it's the Muskogee
reservation that's like right there nearby. But
so this isn't your Bubba at the Gatorland wrestling an alligator. This is
more traditional,
tied into cultural.
Yes.
For the native people. So that could be a highlight. It wasn't going on when we were there. We just kind of did the trail and the boardwalk after we got our stamps.
This is where the Florida National Scenic Trail begins.
Yes, and that goes all the way up through Florida and into the panhandle of Florida. So if you
could technically get to Gulf Islands.
Way to walk in Florida.
Yes.
So we walked a little bit of that and then doubled back, and we did the boardwalk where we saw 2 alligators hanging out.
Yeah.
They're just swimming right along.
That's right.
Which is pretty cool.
EV perspective. I didn't talk about the Shark Valley EV, but I mean, I kind of did, where I was like, oh, it's part of it.
It was a little further out, but there was plenty of infrastructure there and it worked.
Yes. The Oasis Visitor Center has a free level 2. It doesn't say it's working, but it plugs in and the car says it's charging. And that's all that really matters. As long as your car is charging, who cares? They also have a DC fast charger there. I didn't mess with it. Honestly, we were only at Oasis for like an hour.
We didn't stay very long. So Big Cypress is interesting. It was nice to see. I think if you want to experience Big Cypress to the fullest, you need to do a wet walk, which we did not do. But otherwise it's kind of it's a half day park.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to spend more than half a day there unless you're doing a lot of additional wet walk tours or ranger led talks or anything like that.
Yeah. If, again, this is where this is going to come from. If you're a non-Floridian who has not been wet walking in that capacity, it's worth it. We are Floridians.
Yeah.
We've done airboat tours. We've done wet walking. Doing it again in national park is just not appealing to us. But as somebody that's not here, I can definitely see the appeal. Yeah,
so you have to decide what experiences you want to get out of it. But it is worth at least visiting.
Yes.
I will say pretty much everything in the NPS system is worth at least visiting. And if you're in the area, it's not that far to go. So
thank you, Cats. I'm so happy for whatever you're doing over there.
Making cameos. But yeah, so that covers, and then the last day,
I was very hangry, and we had to drive the Cheddars.
Oh my!
And then you got to drive us home because I had 2 margaritas.
Yes. Cheddars was surprisingly tasty.
It was.
I enjoyed it.
It was, except for the 40-minute wait because they somehow messed up and their power flickered, or I don't know, whatever shenanigan excuse they gave us.
I think we ordered so much, they're thinking this is their out if they don't want to actually buy this food. But we were starving, and the food was good. It was better than my last Cheddar's experience.
Yeah, we won't talk about that. Unrelated.
Side note.
Yes. And then we went home.
Yes, we went back to the Airbnb, and then the next day was our final day in southern Florida. So we went back to Biscayne so that we could get our
token that we forgot.
And
it was also much.
We had to finish the book as well because we didn't get the badge, and we wanted to get the badge and the fabric patch for going to all three. So we went and we did that, and we said our little ranger salute thing, pledge, and it was cute. It was fun. And then we headed back to drop off the car before 2 p.m. and take the train back.
Yep. And that was
our trip.
That was our trip. I will say it was much more crowded at Biscayne, the visitor center.
Oh my goodness.
Everybody there was fishing, and there's a bunch of people checking it out. And so
pretty much
we saw a Florida gar. We
did.
Which I was surprised. We saw a pelican.
We saw a pelican. We needed that for our book.
We did.
We got a pelican.
Yeah. And they also had resumed tours that day. So
yeah, so that's unfortunate that we didn't get to do a tour, but we'll go back. Honestly, anything with national parks, it's best if you do them during the week. If you're able to go during a weekday and then save your non-national park stuff, touristy things you want to do, just going out to eat somewhere nice, resting, saving those for the weekends, you'll have a much quieter park experience on a weekday. So it really depends on the experience you want to curate for yourself.
Yep. And that was that.
And that was that.
Oh, good thing about Avis is you don't have to worry about charging up your vehicle at the very least. Or at least that guy.
It was just that guy. Because in the documents, they say you have to.
Yeah.
So if you get a good person.
Yeah. Shout out to the guy from Avis. He's like, I don't care. It's electric. Like they literally have.
They're going to charge it.
They have like 4. They have like 4 level 2 stations like in their garage. It's like, okay. He's like, I can literally just charge it here, man. Like, I don't care. So shout out to that guy from Avis. And that's
the itinerary.
Yeah. So overall, for just us two, we'll nick the third person that also came.
It cost us $2,140 for the 5-day stay. The whole of it, not including food and not including souvenirs and extraneous stuff we bought for ourselves because we bought a lot.
Yes.
But that covered our train ride, there and back, our rental car, charging the rental car, the Airbnb, the airport parking, and both tours that we went on.
Yes. If you want to save money, just don't take the Bright Line.
Don't take the Bright Line. Drive your car. If you're flying to Miami.
Yeah.
And rent from there.
Charging itself only cost us like $37.
Charging was
for 475 miles, like pretty equivalent to what's it called?
The Airbnb cost us a little over $1,000 for the stay. You can do this cheaper if you just have 2 people. We got a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, which is why it costs a little bit more. And so.
Yeah. Now, actually, surprisingly, the car rental, the only thing cheaper was like getting like a small little Rio or like a very tiny little sedan, right? Like it wasn't very, so if you're actually wanting to get a little bit of a nicer car, I'd recommend going for electric because it was roughly about the same price. But if you're really trying to maximize your savings, you can get a smaller car. Like we tried to stick to SUVs.
It's just more comfortable with all of the stuff that we're, traveling with. And especially because there's 3 of us. But even when there's just 2 of us, we tend to, if we're renting.
Yeah.
We're not going to get a small car.
Yeah. It's just, we prefer
like the comfort of a bigger vehicle, especially with anything that has anything close to off-roading.
Yeah. We're like minimum wagon people.
Yes.
Like
not a small car type of person.
Yeah.
Airport parking we had to pay for, obviously, but
you can reserve your parking ahead of time to save some money, or you can park it elsewhere to save more money. Parking at Terminal C. Yeah. You just say if you're not taking the train, like
you'll save money.
Because like to do the same, say you were to travel by car, let's just say you can just buy gas car, right? we won't even say EV. You would do roughly like, I don't know, how far is it from MCO? Like 250 miles, which I mean, our hybrid gets 500 miles.
Yeah, so we'd get there on a.
We'd probably get there and back.
Yeah.
Probably on like a tank and a half.
Yeah.
So roughly
you're driving around once you're there.
Yeah. So maybe like 50 to 60 bucks worth of gas comparative to the parking and all that. So, it's a cool experience, but if you are trying to
do this on a tighter budget, you can.
Yeah. And again, hotel room will significantly cut down compared to an Airbnb.
Yeah, would be a lot cheaper. And then we did the 2 tours. For me, you don't have to do tours at any national park. You can always just go see it, go in the visitor center. There are ranger-led talks, hiking, stuff like that, where you have a ranger that's talking to you. Those are usually always free. And I know these 3 parks that we went to, they're free. So you can do it on a budget.
They weren't free.
Some of them are. So, yeah, some of the ranger-led talks are free. There are some that you have to pay for, but there's a lot of ranger-led talks that are free.
But you have to pay to get into the park.
Yes, but the talk is free.
Right.
So we have
America the
Beautiful pass. We can get into any park we want, whenever we want, for free. You do have to pay to get into the park otherwise. So that goes, if you get the America the Beautiful pass, you're going to be able to get into all 3. It'll be cheaper for you to go ahead and get that pass if you don't have it, so that you can go to all the parks, especially because you're going to be going in and out. However, if you pay to get into the Everglades once, that receipt will allow you to get into the other entrance.
For 7 days.
So if you're only doing the Everglades, you pay once and you're good.
Morgan just caught me with her toenail. Ow.
So, but once you're in, that is an expense you do have to keep in mind. We forget about it most of the time because we just always have the pass because we do so much national park system traveling. That's just kind of a yearly expense for us at this point. And we already had it going into this trip. So, but besides that, once you have it, you can do the ranger-led talks that are free if you want to get some more guided experience. Or you can splurge even more and do more tours than we did. There's airboat tours, there's boat tours, there's Biscayne has the snorkeling and scuba tours. Obviously, we did the tram tour. There's other tours through the Everglades Institute. And then Big Cypress also has tours. They actually didn't have tours when we went, though. It's like they're off season or something.
For Big Cypress?
Yeah. So a lot of their stuff was shut down. But
yeah, that's right. Because that's why they had like the more private tours going on with like Clyde Butcher's stuff. Which again, side note, you can't wear waders
in Big Cypress.
Waders. What was the other thing that you can't wear?
You just can't wear waders, and you have to wear shoes.
Well, yes, you have to wear shoes. But because of how high the water can get,
it just goes into the waders.
That was a big reason why we also didn't do that. So if you are going to do this, the wet walk / swamp walks, have disposable clothes, I guess.
So, and a change of clothes with you after. In the Everglades, you can wear waders, though.
Yes, because the water doesn't get as deep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have Biscayne to go to. Again, we're going to definitely get that Maritime Heritage Trail situated, so it feels like we did it. I mean, it's only a 3.5 hour drive. That's pretty much as long as it takes to get out of Florida sometimes.
Yeah, so it's just another long weekend trip for us to go and thoroughly enjoy Biscayne. It's a national park that's close to us, so we may as well enjoy it.
Yeah.
I don't know, what would you have done differently?
I would have liked to do the Biscayne.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, if I could have changed the weather, I would have definitely done more at Biscayne.
I I still don't think I would have done a wet walk with Big Cypress. It's hard. Like, I'm sure there's some fauna and plants that I'm sure I've never seen before. That may have been cool. And I'm sure I could have got some useful information, but that's one of those areas where it's hard for me to feel excited. And so, and then I don't know, I may have thrown an airboat tour in there, but like the thing with the airboat tour is they're very loud. And we all know how I feel about loud noises.
Yes.
And so I think that would have been like a possibility. Now, outside of those two, I would have, now that I know that those exist, I would have done one of those big all-terrain vehicle tours.
Oh yeah,
the one that
cool.
The ones that have you like, you know,
way high up,
10 feet off the ground. Yeah. You're just kind of traversing the Everglades or Big Cypress. I think that is the one thing I would have done.
Yeah.
Different is in doing one of those tours. Where we would have found those, I don't know. They didn't really advertise them, and
I don't think they're associated directly with the park.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those outside of the park, and then they just use their path.
But then they have that whole exhibit dedicated to them. So then it's kind of weird that they wouldn't have like a preferred concessionaire
attention to it, did they? So I don't know. I would have liked to have done the boat tour down in Flamingo, and I would have liked to spend a night, and you can rent one of their houseboats.
Yeah.
I would have liked to stayed in a houseboat or tried out some of their other lodging that the Everglades has.
Yes. Which we can get more into that in the Everglades specific, which is something we haven't really touched about, is like the lodges they have there, the camping, like the permanent tents. The Everglades has a ton to offer. As a Floridian, I had no idea how expansive it was. I think it's one of those things where I'm like, yeah, you go down there, you see it. It's the Everglades. But then you get there and you realize there's a lot more to it. Yes. One, it's not a swamp. It is. It's like a river. It is yeah. Yeah. It flows from Lake Okeechobee to Florida Bay. Yeah. And you will not get the same experience. I know this is kind of contradictory to me saying that, you know, once you've been in a swamp, it's kind of the same thing. But at least once you kind of go into the Everglades, you're like, whoa, this isn't what I expected. Like, it's a unique experience for sure. Yeah. I mean, heck, even if we go for Biscayne again, maybe we'll pop back in, you know? It's close. When it's drier, it might be a whole different experience. Yeah, that is a thing where I could see the benefits of going twice to experience both the wet and the dry seasons. Yeah. But it was a last minute trip. We didn't really. Yeah, we just initially we're going to go in December, and we decided just to do it because we couldn't do the Grand Canyon anymore. And I'm glad that we had, because if we had done it in December, I think it would have been like a 3-day trip, 4 days, 3 nights. And I don't think we would have given the time to it that it deserved. I think we were kind of writing it off, if we're being honest. Yeah. To some degree, going, oh, yeah, it's like a Florida park, whatever. We'll go. We've heard about it because, you know, we're here. But shouldn't write off the national parks or any of the sites that are in your home state. Yeah. Also, just to make this clear, you can try to fit in dry Tortugas, but the Keys should be their own trip. Yeah, I'll bring that up next. Oh, I've seen a lot online of people trying to fit in all 4 sites in one trip. I think even if you have 7 days, you are not going to do them justice. You could get down there, you could make it work, but it's not going to be the trip it should be. I think you can comfortably fit in Everglades, Big Cypress, and Biscayne in one 7-day trip. And even with our 5-day trip, I think that to really enjoy Biscayne, we would have needed to have 7 days instead of 5. But I don't think that you can do dry Tortugas. And the thing with dry Tortugas is it's very tied to getting that boat ride out to dry Tortugas, which is the only way you're getting out there. So you need to be able to get that
boat ride out to Dry Tortugas. You're there all day. It takes up your whole day. So
You can't take the plane.
That's right. You can take the seaplane, but you have to have some sort of transportation out to the park. So, and then you miss all of, Key West has a ton to offer. The Keys have multiple gorgeous state parks and touristy stuff, and Key West is its own big thing with lots to experience. So you could come to Florida for 14 days and do both. But I think that both need their own 5 to 7 day trip to do them justice. For sure. And then I had when to go, what time of year is best. I mean, we obviously went in October. I felt like the weather wasn't too bad. To me, that's a big thing. You want to go when the weather is good and the crowds weren't bad.
But hurricanes.
Yes.
That is still hurricane season.
It is still hurricane season. Hurricane season is from, when does it start? August? Early, no. Right? It just feels
August
like it's
not early.
Always hurricane season.
I think it starts, I want to say it starts in April here in Florida and runs through November.
Yeah.
I think we've just exited hurricane season.
Yeah, it doesn't stretch through all of November. So late November is a good time to go.
Because say we had planned to go the week before, which is when Hurricane Milton hit. Big Cypress got hurt tornadoes, and they were closed for several days. Mm-hmm. So that is kind of one of the negatives of being Florida parks. Is they're in Florida, so you very much have those risks of hurricanes.
Yeah.
So I would say I would avoid the back end of hurricane season. And I would say don't go July through October. Mm-hmm. And that's the other thing, right? Because it's still rainy season. Our tour got canceled at Biscayne.
Yeah.
But popular season to go to the Everglades is the complete opposite of every other national park, basically, besides Hawaii and, American Samoa.
It's November to April.
Yeah, November to April is the popular months to go to.
It's the dry season. There's more wildlife out and about, and you're not going to deal with hurricanes.
It's cooler.
So you're not in the heat. So overall, it's just a much better time to go. You are going to get slammed with crowds, but if you're on the ends, so I'm thinking probably late April and early November, you're probably not going to deal with the crowds that you will if you're right smack in January.
Yeah.
Or December.
Yeah. So if you wanted to shift your South Beach spring break a little bit to the west of Miami, you could probably get some really good things. One thing to note is a lot of birds start migrating in November and December. So you will see an increase because a lot of birds stop in the Everglades momentarily. Mm-hmm. So another big reason, I think, to maybe want to go
a little later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe, like Morgan said, the beginning of November or late April, mm-hmm. I think is when you'll see you'll get the best experience.
I agree.
And you got anything else in there? Any notes?
I got nothing else in my notes.
I didn't have anything else either. That doesn't start getting deeper into the individuals. We covered how much it cost us, what our EV experience was like, and what's
got a good overview of what a trip to the Everglades and the surrounding parks could look like.
Yeah.
And about how much it'll cost and some things to look out for. Definitely book your tours.
Yes.
And give yourself enough time. Big Cypress is a half-day park. Everglades is a couple-day park. Biscayne is a couple-day park.
Yes. Also, you have to understand Miami traffic is not like anywhere else besides like New York, maybe.
Yes.
Like if something is 15 miles away, you need to give yourself 30 to 40-minute drive time. Okay. This is not like
You're not
the
getting
Midwest
fast.
where 30 to 40 minutes of drive time is like 60 miles.
Yeah.
You're not getting anywhere fast. There's a lot of lights, there's a lot of traffic, there's a lot of horns.
Yes.
Keep in mind that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't want to deal with that, Uber.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, drive times are extended in Miami. And I mean, that's even in Homestead. That's not even just downtown Miami. Downtown Miami is much worse, but
yeah. Homestead further out, it's not too bad, but you start getting into the town, the cittier portion of Homestead, it's crowded.
Yeah. Also, something that we didn't touch upon, which I think would be neat that we didn't do during the on season of the year, so November through April, they have the trolley.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, the trolley will take you to the Everglades as well as to the Biscayne Visitor Center, and other places in Homestead. But it is a free trolley, so you can just hop on if you want to.
It cuts down on your driving,
yes,
gas, all of that. It's
yes.
always nice to just ride along and not have to worry about driving.
I don't know if it's a tour.
I don't know either.
I don't know. I'm so happy they're destroying everything we love and own. I think okay. Well, I think that's their sign that we need to go see them.
It's almost 8.
Yeah. But that's it for our trip. This will wrap up our second episode of Navigating National Parks. The Everglades Extravaganza is what I think we should call it because alliteration.
There we go. I like it.
All right. Well, we will catch you all evening around next time on NNP.